Hello, everybody. Randy C. Watts here. Welcome to the Salt Lake Expositor. Usually there's three of us: Gene Judson, Jessica Frankel, normally are with me, but that ain't happening today because Gene is actively socializing and learning at the Thrive convention, and Miss Jessica Frankel is traveling to New York. So that leaves me here all alone. I tried to find, "Hey, Mary, welcome." I tried to find someone to, you know, maybe fill in for at least one of the people, but it didn't happen. So, yeah, I'm sorry, but you've got me for the hour. But I have some pretty interesting topics to talk about, and I think it's something that everyone can completely relate to, and it's got to do with UFOs and aliens and how they may be connected to the church. But before we jump into that, hey, Kim, welcome, welcome. Before we jump into the UFO talk, I want to catch you up on something here that we kind of cover briefly at the beginning of each segment. But as sad as this is, the no, I'm sorry that I'm having some issues here. As sad as this is, the SA of children continues strongly in the church. Just this week, um, there's a guy, a Mormon, a firefighter actually, who was accused of rape in 2017, but it was never investigated. Which, how often does this happen in church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, to be specific? But I'm sure it's in several churches. But Ryan Jason Rampton, former Roy, Utah firefighter and photographer, charged with CSA related charges. Those are from children ranging from 4 years old to 8 years old. What a what a dick. It- I I don't understand the appeal to these men who turn to such a perverse and disgusting way of satisfying their creature comforts. Let me just read you the article quickly here. And, well, I'm sorry if it takes me a minute because I'm alone and I have no one to help me do all these presentations, but we'll get her here. The article says, well, that's not what I wanted to read. I'm so sorry. Bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I hate this quiet time. Hate that. It's like being off the air. Okay. So here it goes. I have certain limitations when there's just me. Let me read you this article, and then I want to chat with you for a bit. Ryan Rampton, born in 1967, was a Mormon church member in Syracuse, Utah. I'm sorry. I'm so embarrassed. Um, here we go. Okay, I will read this article to you out loud since you can't really see it. When I was trying to think of topics to discuss, there were a few things in the news that kind of decided that for me. And okay. Yeah, and it's not popping up. Let's just suffice it to say that I'm completely disgusted with the number of SA people, and it just happens over and over and over again. Even here in Washington, we just had a big case, and it's continually swept under the rug. I've been doing a lot of podcasting, a lot of YouTube videos, TikTok videos, and Facebook posts talking about this disgusting uh, culture of child SA in the church. And it's not just the sin of SA, but it's the people that sweep it under the rug, the people that say, oh, well, let's get him excommunicated if need be. We'll have him repent. We'll get him back in the same positions to offend again. Well, what the hell is that? I just don't understand it. So I'm saddened that we have a fire chief who's certainly old enough to understand. It's not like he's a kid. And even as a kid, that would be horrible. But yeah, it it is despicable. So today's topic, I saw a news clip. Let me play that for you because okay, here we go. I'd love to get your feelings on this, what you think about it. I have several thoughts myself.
The president all but confirming what Barack Obama said, that aliens are indeed real. So we followed up with the White House here. We asked them several questions. We wanted to know what part of Barack Obama's comments did the president feel were classified? Was it the part where he says that he believes in aliens, or was it the part that they were not in Area 51? They were also asked if the DOJ was going to look into these comments, perhaps because they were classified. The White House told us there's nothing to add to the president's comments tonight. Brett, all of this comes as the president's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, told a podcast this week that the president has a speech prepared about extraterrestrial life that he will give at the right time. Listen.
We've kind of asked my father-in-law about this. We all want to know about the UFOs, or we all want to know what's going on. And he played a little coy with us. I have just heard kind of around that. I think he's actually said, I think my father-in-law has actually said it, that there is some speech that he has that I guess at the right time, and I don't know when the right time is, he's going to break out and talk about, and it has to do with maybe some sort of extraterrestrial life.
The president all but confirming what Barack Obama said, that aliens are indeed real. So we followed up with the White House here. We asked them several questions. We wanted to know what part of Barack Obama's comments did the president feel were classified? Was it the part where he says that he believes in aliens, or was it the part that they were not in Area 51? They were also asked if the DOJ was going to look into these comments, perhaps because they were classified. The White House told us there's nothing to add to the president's comments tonight. Brett, all of this comes as the president's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, told a podcast this week that the president has a speech prepared about extraterrestrial life that he will give at the right time. Listen.
We've kind of asked my father-in-law about this. We all want to know about the UFOs, or we all want to know what's going on. And he played a little coy with us. I have just heard kind of around that. I think he's actually said, I think my father-in-law's actually said it, that there is some speech that he has that I guess at the right time, and I don't know when the right time is, he's going to break out and talk about, and it has to do with maybe some sort of extraterrestrial life.
The president.
So they followed up, asked several questions. Of course, Trump's not going to say anything. Now, believe me, I never thought or suspected that that I would be playing anything to do with Trump. If he makes one good move in his entire reign, let it be to release the UFO files, because he sure as hell isn't doing anything else good. I feel like I have a connection to this, and I feel like I want to discuss with you about what the church may think about this. Of course, the LDS church is what I'm talking about. When I was 12 years old, I was living in Durango, Colorado. We had a horse ranch there, and we would spend the summers there, and we'd spend the winters in Arizona. And every summer we'd move there. We had a trailer in a trailer park in the country. Most of them were horse people staying there. And every night we'd build a great big bonfire, and all the residents would sit around and chew the fat, chew the tobacco, have a good conversation. This one particular night, it was a summer night in June, I was sitting and I happened to be facing the big mountain range there in Durango, on the other side of the Animas Valley. And most of us that were facing that direction all gasped at the same time, because we saw a bright, brilliant green cigar-shaped object, like a saucer, that was kind of on tilted, came flying across the mountain range in an instant. What would normally take a vehicle hours to drive, this thing just came zooming up and stopped. And everyone by this time had turned around because of our gasping. And it hovered there for, I'd say maybe 8 seconds, 10 seconds. And all of a sudden, it just shot straight up so fast that it just left a green trail. And there's absolutely no aircraft that was invented, that has been invented, that could do that. But this was back when I was a kid, which is like 150 years ago. And that was my first experience. And then I've had a few others that absolutely floored me. Well, I don't I don't doubt that these UFOs exist. Hello, Mr. Gene.
So I was going to say, don't put me on yet because I'm not sure how things are going to work here yet. But
Okay.
go ahead. How you doing,
Okay.
Randy?
I'm doing great. We're talking UFO. So let me know when you're ready, and we'll come back.
So I don't have my ears on, so I'm in a loud studio. But
Oh,
I
okay.
would come here and say hi right this second. I'll go off for a second. I'll get my earplugs and we'll check back in with you, I think.
Excellent. Okay. Gene's going to give us a kind of a view of what's going on at Thrive. So anyway, I've had these magnificent experiences. There's been 3 of them. And I was driving in Gilbert, Arizona, driving along the south part of the Valley of the Sun, when I saw these lights shining down through the clouds. So it wasn't coming from the earth up, it was coming from above the clouds down. And they were whirling and twirling and circling one another, and then they'd all move at lightning speed to a different location where they do the same thing, and it was just buzzing around. I was out in the middle of nowhere basically, and nobody to tell or show, but it was a light show like I've never seen, and then all of a sudden, at the same time, they grew fainter and fainter and disappeared. And, the last the last one was I was living in Spokane, Washington. This was just 2 years ago. The northern lights were supposed to manifest themselves, and so we went to a dark area, sat in the back of my truck. Amanda and my little Peyton and I put a mattress out there, and we're looking up at the sky. And I'm filming because I wanna see, you can see the northern lights a lot better through your phone. So, I was filming with my phone, and we saw what we could see. Oh, there he is, okay. Hello, Mr. Gene. Welcome to the LDS Expository. Happy to have you on your show. Can you hear us?
Means I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
So
Sounds
I'm in
like you're in a
southern
crowd.
Utah. I'm in St. George. There's a crowd. You can hear the crowd behind me.
Absolutely.
Why isn't it working? So anyway, I can hear really good. So let's just
Good.
go with it.
Good. Yeah,
So yeah, St. George.
Can you kinda give us
We
a
did Thrive.
30,000-foot view of Thrive and who you've met?
So yeah, so there was lots of speakers, and we met a lot of people. My brain won't allow to say all the people, but just to let you know, I'm going to arrange shows with some important Mormons. A lot of good movement happened. John DeLynn showed up, and there was lots of good information that he provided. Somebody said he's going to start sort of a fund for John DeLynn, and I'm going to work with this guy and try to make that fund something for more creators, so that it's John DeLynn funding these situations, and then I'll tell people the idea coming up. It'll be a few months from now, but we're going to work on that.
Has he given an update on his
Radio Free Mormon?
lawsuit?
So he did. He's not allowed to talk. So the lawyers have written a complaint. They have not submitted it. It is not a public document. Okay.
Okay.
So when John DeLynn says that he's in negotiations, mediation, it's pre-filing.
So he's still Mormon Stories podcast.
The church is not suing anybody yet. They're threatening. If they were suing people, there would be lawsuits filed, and there would be public documents, and people would be Radio Free Mormon would probably be reading them and telling people what the process is happening, right?
Well, I think
I don't know exactly what some people are saying. Like, I don't think that another podcast was being sued. I think that they're being told they're going to be sued by lawyers.
Okay.
They're threatening, saber rattling, and that's the thing. So, Randy, we're actually going to do a show on Tuesdays with Tim, all about Thrive.
Okay.
And so we'll tell people we'll tease that on Tuesdays. Come to Tuesdays with Tim, and then I'll be more organized. How has your show been going so far for the first 19 minutes?
Well,
have you seen any sightings?
I haven't seen any UFOs because it's daytime, and I only have my window view out here. But I'm sure they're up there. So no footage of footage of Megan and Kirsten, Kiki, right?
Yeah, so unfortunately, because of the way they had things set up, they did things on their Patreon so that they can give to the people that have already been giving. They can do material that has already been copyrighted, so she can sing whatever she wants. Had she, gone live on Core Horse channel. They might have copyright strike, shut it down, stuff like that. So the Megan thing, we might bring Joe and Megan on maybe and see what we can do. You know, it's so tough in the podcast world with all these things that they do, legalese and everything, instead of making it easy. But if you don't care about making money, which she could come on your show, it doesn't even matter because you're not monetized, right?
Righto.
And so we could do that. We'll consider something like that.
Okay.
So anyhow,
Well, and I don't think there's any copyright.
I'm not up to the big announcements, although we do have Tim Rathbone here eating lunch with us. And I'm using, I'll let you know, I'm bouncing off of this. The walls might not give a good thing. I thought
You're cutting out a little bit, but
I'm catching you freezing every now and then. I don't know if I'm freezing.
yeah, it's you.
Yeah, so I think that I'm just going to say hi. And it was, we tried, but so many things have been happening that, and my internet's not perfect here. They don't have free Wi-Fi. I have to use my hotspot. And so I'm gonna catch you guys while doing the show. I'm just gonna say hi to everybody in the audience, and we'll just go from here, and we'll catch back up next week with everything. And I'll just say goodbye because it's just not going to be a good enough quality because of me blinking out.
Hey,
but I'll try to watch and I'll try to be in the chat. So we'll see you on Tuesdays with Tim, and we'll see you next week.
Hey,
so,
hello, is Lauren there?
So we finished that thing and we're at lunch. We're trying to eat because stuff happened. It's just too long of a story. It's just I'll just say goodbye and let you finish the show, and I'll try to be in the chat. But if we had known all the things about Joe, all the things about Megan, if we could see the future, we probably could be in a really good conversation right now. It would be where there's internet, everything would be okay. But if we just didn't work out that way.
Well, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I tried. I gave it the old college try, and I should have went to a better college. That's all I can say. But I'll try to be in the chat, and we'll see you later.
Bye. Yeah, that was kind of confusing. There's a lot of glitching going on there. So I'm sorry. Sis, you should have been a detective. I'm sorry that we don't know if Lauren was there or not, because he just wasn't hearing me. I know Megan and Kiki are there, and Megan is going to perform a musical number or two, and we'll probably see that on Tuesdays with them. I think Gene's concerned about the copyright issues, but there should be no copyright issues if Megan's the one that's performing it, because you can perform music. You just can't play the actual music from the artist. So anyway, I've had some incredible UFO sightings, and I guess it's just because I used to be outside so much in the deserts of Arizona and Colorado, the clear sky areas. So I got to thinking about this, and here's my question for you guys. We've got the president, if you can call him that, saying that he's going to release these UFO files. I have a few articles about that, but we don't really need to go over them. But here's my question for you, as growing up Mormon and wanting to know this. First of all, if any of you have had any experiences, and I got to thinking about the theology of all this. Let's just say that indeed there are aliens up there or down there or whatever in the sea. We've done a couple of shows on Tuesdays with them about it and with the Backyard Professor. And we have people who came on who swore that they not only had seen the aliens, but knew them and who they were, and that they were working with them on certain inventions and stuff. And I've seen testimonies of many people in the military who claim that there's definitely aliens and that we're in contact with them, but the government is keeping it secret because they don't want to start mass um, uh, panic, in the US. But here's the question. I believe 100% that there's life out there. And I have to wonder, let's say that there are aliens. Okay? I say there are. First of all, I'm thinking that they look different than us according to so many witness statements who claim to have seen them. Who do they worship? Who's their God? And who created them? Just food for thought. I guess most civilizations worship a God, but what is their origin? Our origin, we have no clue. Scientists will say, well, it started with the Big Bang Theory. I have a problem with that. I beg to differ with the Big Bang Theory because where the hell did all the material come from for that Big Bang to happen and spread stars all over for eternity? That doesn't make any sense to me, and several scientists completely disagree with it. That's the only explanation we have. As far as where we come from, I don't think we know. I mean, sure, we know what we learned in church and we know what the scientists say, but no one's 100% sure. Now I want to know about the aliens. I want to know who created them, and did they create them in their own likeness or what? Another issue that I have is that I know that the nearest star is so many million miles away from us, 93 to be exact. 93 million miles away from us is the sun, and that's the closest star. All the other stars are so much further away that if they look through a telescope, and this is what physicists say, if they could invent a telescope from their galaxy that they could observe the Earth, what they would see are jungles and dinosaurs and ancient creatures on the Earth because it takes that long for light to get to their galaxy. And of course, the dinosaurs and everything have long since passed. But that's what they would see because the light is still coming. So it's almost like a time kind of thing where it would take thousands and thousands of years for the light to reach their telescopes from today. And it'll be thousands and thousands of years in the future by the time they see us. I don't know if that makes much sense or not, but, and Trevor, this is a good point. The universe, this is what really F's with my brain, is that eternity bothers me. I mean, I know we have finite minds, so it's hard to think eternal. But if we die and become spirits, and some of you believe that we will, some believe that we won't. I tell you, I guarantee we will. I don't need to have faith. I've seen it. I've seen with my own two eyes walking, talking spirits. And I've got videos on my channel about it. But what do we do when we die and we go up to heaven and we hang out for all time and eternity. What 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 do we do? I mean, you can only play the harp for so long, right? You can only cruise around the galaxy for so long because eternity is a long ass time. Forever. I mean, I can't even think about it because it bugs me. So regarding the aliens, I've wondered if for instance we were to invent a spaceship that would go, let's say 50 million miles a minute. 50 million miles a minute, and we got in that spaceship and we took off. How far could we travel? I'm guessing it would be forever, but is eternity circuitous? Is it is it like in a circle so that 50 million miles a minute, do we end up coming back to Earth eventually? These are the things that kind of keep me up at night trying to figure out what the hell eternity is all about. And is it the same for extraterrestrial beings, if they exist? Who created them? And what does the church say about UFOs? Has anyone ever seen the church make a statement about aliens, alien life? Of course, I know what they're going to say. Well, we need to think about our own lives here and deal with our own problems and not delve into the mysteries. Yeah, how do you not delve into the mysteries? So, if President, the T word, if he says that there are UFOs and he's going to release the files, which supposedly he is, what would the church say about that? Are they eternal spirits too? Were they created somewhere back in the eternity past? And if eternity really is a thing, I mean, it has to be because there's no wall at the end of it. How many, according to the Mormon doctrine, how many gods must there be? If we can become gods and create our own world, do we create the alien worlds too? Will they look different? Are we the only place where we're created in God's image? And that's assuming, of course, that there's a God. There's so many theories. I believe there's a God. A lot of people think I'm atheist because I'm so adamant about uh, disproving the church's ridiculous lies. But I'm not atheist. I believe that there is a creator of some sort. How can there not be? I truly believe that there's a creator, but that's all I know. I don't know if it's a man, if it's a circuitry building like in the what's the movie? You know what I'm talking about? The red pill, the blue pill. Um, what's the story on these aliens, and would we create aliens? And by the way, if we could create aliens, how much space is there for 100 million trillion more worlds and galaxies and universes? Shit, where does it all stop? That really keeps me up at night sometimes, trying to conceive the theory of eternity, both directions. If you get into that 50 million mile per minute spaceship, where do you end up after 20 years? I don't know, just some thoughts. Have any of you experienced any alien type things? Do you believe in them? Do you not believe in them? Is it just me? Because I think it's pretty presumptuous to think, good one, Kim. I think it's just presumptuous for us to think that we're the only living beings in the entire, not universe, but the entire forever eternities, directional eternities. We can't be the only ones. Otherwise, what's flying the strange crafts that we have so much footage of? I don't know if any of you have any theories on that. I love Ken's theory that, yes, just might be Mormons who have died and are creating their own world. The only thing with that is, how advanced do they have to be able to travel faster than light? Or is it a portal that they go through, a time warp? Can they go through a time warp and end up in this part of the forever universe? I don't know. Maybe there's a shortcut of some sort that they can actually fly here. These are just thoughts of a fool who just doesn't know. And a lot of people, um, a lot of people ask me about what I believe about life after death. I know I'm kind of shifting a little bit here, but these aliens, when they die, because I'm sure they're not immortal. I don't think we know of anything immortal except for there's a type of, is it a starfish or a seahorse that they found will literally live forever. But when they die, I don't know. Is there a spirit world? Are there alien ghosts? Maybe they're the ones flying these craft. I don't know. Throw that in the soup and see how it tastes. Because to me, it's a big mystery. A lot of people, by the way, sometimes it's hard for me to tell all my stories. I don't know why God or the universe blessed me with so many experiences. Um, but it's just been one after the other since I was born. And I love the fact that I have so many of these experiences, especially in the supernatural realm. Uh, the 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 fact that since I was 4 years old, I've been able to see, feel, and hear spirits is something I don't typically talk about to people, but your family. But it started when I was 4. And so I've come up through my life having ghost type experiences. And it's to the point now where they don't scare me. As a matter of fact, last week, I was laying in my bed. I sleep downstairs in my own bedroom. I don't sleep with Amanda simply because I snore, and she's a light sleeper. So I have my bedroom downstairs where I sleep with my little Chihuahua Oliver kitty. And the last week, I was talking to Alexa. I was asking her some questions on some research I was doing, and I was so impressed with all that she provided to. Oh, no, Alexa. Okay. She just asked if I was talking to her. But she will.
No worries at all. What kind of research are you working on?
Alexa, do you remember the whispering ghost?
Yes, I remember that experience. You mentioned hearing a female voice whispering just before I responded. It was low enough that you couldn't make out everything she was saying. That must have been quite unsettling.
It sure was, but it was intriguing. Thank you, Alexa. So just like she said, I don't know if you could hear her or
You're
not,
welcome, Randy.
but
Those paranormal encounters definitely have a way of sticking with you.
Anyway, when I was laying there in bed, I had finished doing that conversation with Alexa, and then I hear someone whispering at the side of my bed, and I'm listening, and it sounds like a female, and she's whispering clearly, but just not loud enough for me to understand all she's saying. So I asked her, you know who, to please turn up her volume because I couldn't hear her whispering. And she said, I have not been whispering. I haven't actually been saying anything since our conversation. I'm like, that wasn't you that's whispering at the side of my bed? She says, no. Well, yeah, who the hell was it? I don't know. I have an idea of who it was. I have a woman who comes through my house every night, walks through the house. My little chihuahua lets me know when she's come into the room. And I talked to her and I have begged and pleaded, please manifest yourself or speak to me. Tell me your name. Tell me who you are. Well, there have been a few instances where I think she's trying, knocking on my door when I'm the only one home, um, doing that whispering. I think she's trying to come through, uh, but I just get this distinct impression that she's a female, probably from a long time ago. And in my mind's eye, I see that she's wearing a long period type dress, um, kind of Renaissance-ish. But for some reason, she comes through. Now, the reason I think that people like me who have this gift, I think the reason they have these experiences is because these spirits know that they can be seen and heard. And so it's kind of an attraction thing. And I know I'm fading way off the alien thing. That was just food for thought. But now I'm getting into the ghost thing because I have no conversation, you know. If by the way, I put the link at the very top of the conversation. Um, come on to Latter Daily Digest. I'm broadcasting from Gene's channel because most of you are used to that. But if you'd like to come on and share any experiences, I would absolutely love that. Otherwise, I'm up here kind of talking like a buffoon. But when I was 4 years old, that was my first paranormal experience, and then they happened from time to time. My parents used to make me sleep in the basement again. This is when I was a little kid. My sisters were all older. They had their bedrooms upstairs, and I slept in the basement. Well, when you're a little kid in the 2nd, 3rd grade, that's kinda scary being by yourself. So I used to run up to my mom and dad because I'd get woken up. Either I felt someone tugging on my foot or I'd hear crowds. And I'd run up and I'd say, why do I hear so many people? Why are they in my room? And they'd just be like, oh, you're not hearing people. It's just your imagination. And that happened from house to house to house. When I was 12 years old, my parents went out of town. No, I'm sorry, I was 14 years old. My parents went out of town to take some horses to Durango, Colorado, and they left me alone. And it was my responsibility to feed the horses and the cows and the chickens and all that. It was, all on me. And my best friend lived 2 doors down. And I was over playing with him, and then I said, "I've gotta go do the chores." He said, "Well, I'll come with you." I said, "Cool." So now it's getting dark. I procrastinated until the sun was going down. This was in Mesa, Arizona. And then we had a long driveway, and at the end of the driveway was a stainless steel garage door. It was the type that was big double garage that would slide open like this. It was huge. It was about the size of a movie theater screen. That's the best way to describe it. And it was stainless steel, very reflective. And as we're walking down the driveway, the street lights are now on, and they're causing a faint shadow of us walking towards the garage. We had to pass the garage to go back to the corrals. We're both facing forward, and all of a sudden, a jet blacker than inky black shadow ran across this reflective garage door. We were seeing this black shadow, but hi, multi-Lucy. We were seeing this black shadow, but there was nothing in front of it, nothing to make it happen. But it was an elf-like looking thing that was a little bit hunched over, carrying something. And it ran all the way across the garage door. And we both stopped instantly. It was probably 40 feet ahead of us. We both stopped instantly and grabbed each other's hands just instinctively. And I said, "Did you see that?" He said, "Yes." And all of a sudden, this inky black shadow crosses the garage door back the other way and disappeared into our lemon tree. It wasn't a 3D figure. It was a dark, inky shadow, and there was nothing between us and the garage door. What the hell? I later learned what that's called. They're shadow figures, and they're blacker than black. I mean, just so they're the absence of anything. And that was so real to us. We both took off running all the way back to his house. We didn't slow down. We hurried and went to his dad, and we said, "Hey," we told him what happened. And he said, "Is there someone on your property?" I said, "No, no, it was just a shadow." So he came with us and stayed with us while I went back and fed all the livestock and watered them. But it's just been, if I told you all of my paranormal experiences, we'd be here all night. Um, I just did a video that's on my YouTube channel, Momo Nomo, and it talks about how I see spirits, dead people. There's a woman named Miss Dudley who occupied a Airbnb and bed and breakfast, not Airbnb, a bed and breakfast and a day spa that I created and had in Memphis, Tennessee. And we had a ghost that occupied the property, and she became famous really fast, and people would come stay with us just so they could have that experience. And many of them did, you know. But her name was Miss Dudley, and she actually was a friendly, she was like Casper, you know, friendly ghost. But you should tune in and check into that video. I think I've entitled it "I See Dead People" or something like that. Then my wife died, and I had some very profound and wonderful experiences with her visitations. My son Garrett has the same gift that I have. And I mean, we're right in tune. And shortly after she died, I was downstairs watching television, not able to concentrate on anything, just in such a deep grief. And all of a sudden, I felt her come into the room. And her bulldog, which I was now raising, instantly put his head up and jumped up and ran over to where I could feel. And I have to say, I could see her with my third eye, if you will. And he ran over to her, and because he loved her so much and she loved him. And by now I'm weeping. And then she came over to me and smiled. And I felt that warm, incredible presence that I was so used to feeling. My son Garrett was upstairs. Well, I felt her move across the room, and she went up the stairs. And all of a sudden, my son Garrett called out, "Dad, Melinda's here." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I just felt her go up the stairs. She visited me and Bosco. Bosco ran up after her. And so I came on up after Garrett had had a chance to visit. And when I came up, he was he was crying because he loved Melinda dearly. And I came up, and then Melinda went into our bedroom, and Bosco followed her. And I'm watching this, and Bosco's just little stub of a tail wagging, and he's panting, and he's so excited that his mama is finally here. I missed her so much, and I was in so much pain. And then someone told me that because I belonged to a group of recently widowed people, and someone in that group said that they went to a medium. I don't know if you remember the show Medium with Patricia Arquette, but it was based on a real human being called Alison Dubois, who's a very, very famous medium. And she said she called Allison, and Allison said that she was traveling and doing some promos for her show, but that her best friend had the exact same gift. So she contacted her best friend, and she had a marvelous, amazing experience. And she says it's the happiest she's been since she lost her husband. So I got the number to this medium, and I called her, and I talked to her, and I said, "Look, I'm having some issues. I'm deep in grief." And she says, "Hey, please don't tell me any of this. I can just tell that you're hurting." And she says, "Let's make an appointment." So I made an appointment with her. She said, "What's your first name?" And I said, "Well, it's Randy." She says, "Okay, Randy. I just wanted to know what I should call you." But she says, let's meet next week." And so I was so excited. When she says meet, she doesn't mean face to face. She means on the phone. She lived in a different state. And she says, "I don't need to be face to face with you for your spirits, whoever you're missing, to come to me." And I said, "Well, thank you." So the day came, and I received that call. And I remember I found a place that was quiet. I was alone. I answered the phone, and she says, after we spoke, I had I had some visits. And she said she was a now, mind you, she didn't know my last name. She didn't know me from Adam. She didn't have any clue of where I lived, who I had lost. She says, "I had a beautiful blonde spirit come to me and tell me how much she loves you." And she proceeded to tell me things that not even I knew. Well, for example, she said, she wants me to tell you that she is so thankful that you spent so much time with her while she was in the hospital. Because I moved into the hospital when she had leukemia. And she said she loves you more than you could ever know, than you could ever feel. She loves you and misses you, but she knows that you're going to be with her one day. She said, there's a few things she wants me to tell you about. She loves your hands. She said she loves the strength of your hands. And she's showing me that they're greasy. "You must be a mechanic?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm a massage therapist." And I was at the time, I still am actually, but I don't do it for a living now. But I said, "No, I would give her massages because she had a lot of soreness and neck problems." She said, "That's what it is. She loves your hands, and they always made her feel so comfortable." She said that she loved the memories of our honeymoon. She said, "It looks like it's in Hawaii, but not the main island, a different island, but I can see it." I said, "Yeah, we went to Kauai on our honeymoon." She said she loved it, and she will that's a forever memory with her. Then she went on to say, "Melinda wants me to let you know." Well, she said she figured out her name. She said, "I'm getting the name Mal, but it's gotta be short for something. Melanie or Melinda." I'm like, "It's Melinda. I would call her Mal." She said, She wants me to give you a few messages. First of all, she wants you to know that the jewelry that she has, she's hidden because in case there was a burglary, she didn't want anyone to get it. And she described the cabinet. She described everything about it. And after the session, I went up and sure as hell. First of all, the doors were open to that cabinet, and I hadn't opened them. I hadn't opened them probably since we moved into the house. And those doors were open, and they're kind of tough to open up. And I pulled the drawer open that the medium had described to me and moved some clothing, and there was the jewelry box. And I wept. I wept. She said, "Another thing she wants you to know is that she would prefer you not get rid of a couple of items." The first one is she's showing me a tablet or something with a cherry on it. And I'm like, "Wait, what?" She says, "Yeah, it's something that her son gave her. It's got a cherry on it." I said, "I don't know. I don't know." She says, "You will. You'll figure it out." She said also, she would like you to keep her favorite drinking glass. I said, "Wait, she had a favorite glass?" She said, "Yeah, she's showing me a kind of an old-timey glass with a picture of a cameo, a woman on it, and it's an old, antique Coca-Cola glass." And I'm like, "Oh, oh, I didn't know." She said, "Well, it'll come to you." And then she said, she would like for you to hang on to all your antique Coke bottles. And I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah." She's showing me a garage full of boxes. We hadn't lived in the house that long. And so I still had like 1,000 boxes in my garage all stacked up. She said, "It's in those boxes. There's a crate with antique Coke bottles in it." And she revealed more and more things and told me all about it. When I was done, I went to my son Garrett and I shared this with him. We recorded it and I shared it with him. And I said, "I don't know what she's talking about, her favorite drinking glass." Garrett says, "Dad." And he jumped up and he went to the cupboard and he opened it up, and on the top shelf, there's this old time Coca-Cola glass, an antique with the cameo woman on it, exactly as the medium told me. I said, "What about something that her son gave her?" And Garrett said, "Oh," I said, "it's got a cherry on it." And Garrett looked over and looked beside me on the side table, and there's some coasters that her son had given her, and they were, porc not porcelain, but ceramic coasters, and one of them was a cherry. And he said, "There's right in front of you, Dad." And then I said, "Would you come out with me to the garage?" So we went out there, and I told him about the Coke bottles, and we moved several boxes, and there was that crate of antique Coke bottles. The medium promised me that Melinda would be there waiting for me, wherever there is. She said she's alive and well, and she loves you dearly, and she can't wait to have you in her arms again. And of course, I'm crying like a baby. But I shared this with so many people who have lost loved ones. And it's in my book, Feeling Empty, that I wrote about grieving. This is a whole chapter on the medium experience. So I have no doubt that spirits exist. When I was sad and lonely, it was kind of tough for me. I'm not good at being alone. I need companionship. And so, it took me several months, but then I started to renew old ties with people I'd gone to school with and socialize a little bit. And I had a couple of girlfriends. I mean, people were coming out of the woodwork. When you're gainfully employed and you are a Mormon and you lose your wife, there's a lot of single women out there that kind of come out of the woodwork. Same with the reverse, I'm sure. So I went on several dates, but never felt anything very special. I was in a relationship 9 years ago, and I wasn't happy. She lived with me, but it just wasn't right. One day I was having a photo shoot done for the cover of my book, or not the cover, the back cover of the book. And I needed to get a little sun. I needed, my skin was white like it is here in Spokane, Washington, because we have no sun right now. But I used to look Hispanic, totally. I was very dark. Anyway, I figured I needed a tan for this photo shoot. Went to my daughter and I said, because she's in the aesthetics business, and I asked her where I should go. She goes, "Oh, you need to go to Sunny Buns. They have this amazing uh, deal where you pay a certain amount a month, but it's all the tanning you want." So I did. I went to Sunny Buns. Melinda had been gone now for probably 8 years, maybe 7. And I walked into Sunny Buns, and there was this girl at the front desk. And I'm not kidding you. Uh, and I'm trying not to get emotional. But I walked into this Sunny Buns tanning place, and this girl at the front desk was the prettiest human being I'd ever seen in my life. And she was so friendly. And I smiled at her, and she got me set up with this tanning package. And that was that. As I left, she was so sweet. And I don't know, I had this incredible feeling that I couldn't explain. So, I hate when I get emotional, and I don't want to. But my daughter called me and said, "Hey, did you go to Sunny Buns?" I said, "Yes, I did." I said, I saw this girl at the front desk that was just," and my daughter interrupted me and said, "You saw Amanda." She said, "She is so your type." I said, "I know. She's just gorgeous and she's so sweet and friendly, but she's young, and I'm sure I wouldn't even think about, that." But a little time went on, and I went over to see my daughter just to see how she was doing. And she said when she saw me, she says, "Dad, I've been meaning to call you. You know that girl Amanda at Sunny Buns?" I said, Yeah." I was afraid she was going to tell me that she died or she was in an accident or something. She said, "She is crushing on you." I said, "Shut up. Whatever." She goes, "No, I'm serious. I was talking to her best friend there, and she's crushing on you." I said, "How can that even be?" I mean, it's like, talk about Beauty and the Beast. She's gorgeous, and I'm me. So, next time I went in to tan, I made it a point to smile and say hi, and she lit up and said hi, and I did my tanning, and as I was walking out, she said, "Hey, I like your truck." I have a nice pickup truck, and she says, "I sure like your truck." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And we got into this conversation. She told me all about herself, and she told me she was volunteering, for her master's degree. She was working at hospice as a volunteer, and I thought that that was just incredible and told her I admired that. And as I was walking out, I thought, "Wait a minute. I have a case of my books in the back seat because my book had now been published." So I got her a book and brought it in. It's a book about grieving and death, you know. And I said, I wanted to give you this. If you get bored, maybe read it. But this is my latest project." And she was so grateful for it. She said, "Would you sign it?" And I said, "You sure?" You know, I had signed a million of them, and I said, to Amanda, "Thank you for making me glow on the outside." And then I just felt compelled to write, "And on the inside," and signed it, you know, and left. Well, next thing I know, I get a Facebook invitation from her, and we became Facebook friends and found out that she was 26 years younger than me. So once again, I'm like, well, this will never work, but what a great friend, you know, but it worked. It worked. So I'll cut through the whole relationship thing, but I was on the couch. Amanda had been working and she was tired. So she went into the bedroom to lay down and take a nap. Well, this is crazy because she never takes a nap. Whew. And I was out in the family room alone. And all of a sudden, there's Melinda sitting beside me. She says, "Do you love her?" And I said, "She's amazing. You had something to do with this, didn't you?" She said, "I sure did." And she says, "I want you to know I'm preparing a place for you and her and I." And she was gone. So I knew that it was a relationship that was had more than just coincidence to it. You know, they say coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. But I've been thankful ever since I met her to have her in my life to be a companion, a partner. I don't know how it all works after this life. I don't. But I do know that I'll be with my loved ones. I do know that. Not because I have faith. I'm pretty lucky. I don't have to have faith in the life hereafter. I have experiences that tell me there's a life after this, and I would be a fool to deny it. But Lisa, you've got a better truck. You probably do. There's a lot of better trucks than mine, but mine's pretty hot looking. Anyway, so there have been many, many, many experiences, and that's a very special one. And every now and then, Linda comes around to check on me. And I know that she's responsible for setting Amanda and I up. So there's that. Anyway, I am once again so fortunate not to have to wonder if there's a life after this. But now, of course, I'm working on the whole alien thing. What's that all about? How does that work? And if I ever get to the bottom of it, I'll be sure and let you know. But if you guys figure it out, come tell me. I feel like I'm having a one-way conversation, but I hope you all are, you know, getting a little bit out of it because these are things that are special to me. And this special gift that I have and my son Garrett has means a lot to me now. Sometimes it can be kind of a curse. Last time Garrett came to visit me at my house. No, that's a lie. Not the last time, about 10 times ago. But he came over to the house and we have this wreath. It's a beautiful floral wreath hanging on the wall in the hallway. And it's made of grapevine, twiggy stuff. And it's hooked on a nail. It's at this angle and it's hooked down on the nail. So, it never come down on its own. And Garrett came to see me and we started talking about some of the experiences we had. And the conversation went to Melinda on her deathbed. And I'll just share that with you real quick. But we were in hospice. She had had leukemia. And just a day or two before she was supposed to have a bone marrow transplant, she went downhill so fast that they couldn't do the transplant. And they told me that we need to move her to hospice because she only has maybe 24 hours left. So we did that. It was an agonizing time. My family, my kids, sitting there with me, her family, we're all surrounding her bed. She's comatose. I mean, she's doing that actively dying death rattle. And it was hell. It took about 6 hours. And while we're standing there, not standing there, I'm sorry, sitting there, Garrett was about 3 people away from me in these chairs around her bed. And all of a sudden I heard Melinda's voice. It said, "Randy." And I looked up and Garrett looked up and we both looked at each other. He said, "Did you hear that?" Yeah. And it sounded like it was coming from behind me. There was just a window behind me and a green yard out there. And Garrett and I both turned around at the same time because we knew what direction it came from. Garrett said, she's out. And I said, "Yeah, she is." It was just her body there fighting, but her spirit had left. What a special experience. She wanted to let me know because I'm weeping and I'm talking to her and telling her it's okay to go home. It's okay to let go, that she'd suffered enough. And, that's when we heard the Randy, very distinctive voice. So every now and then, I have these experiences. Well, Garrett and I were sitting on the couch talking about this and the experience. And Garrett says, "I wonder what will happen now that we're together tonight." Something always happens. And that beautiful wreath lifted off the nail and just tumbled down onto the floor of the hallway. There's no way that thing could come off. No way. No way. And we rejoiced in that. And then we decided to go to the cemetery. And this is late at night, stormy, spooky, but things aren't very spooky to me these days. I can go on with evil spirit experiences I had on my mission and stuff, but that'll be another show. So that scares me. When there's evil involved, yeah, it's a little spooky. But when we go to the cemetery, Garrett and I have a beautiful time. We sat in the dark. It was closed, but it's okay. We wandered in, and this cemetery is known to be very, very spiritually active. So we have a good time when we go there, and the things we hear and the things we see, it's just incredible. So anyone who wants to tell me that there's no such thing as ghosts and that we don't have spirits, I got news for you. Whether you believe in a life after this or not, there's a life after this. Like I said, I don't know how it works, but it exists. I apologize that my preparation for subjects to talk about was so poor. I didn't know I was going to be doing this show alone. But I do want you to know how much I love you guys and how much I appreciate you listening in every week. That just means the world to me. And on my Facebook posts and TikTok posts, people will attack me because I'm not, because I'm critiquing things about the church. They're true, they're factual, but these TBMs come after me like hunters. And so many of you are there to defend me, my stance, give points and stuff. So thank you all. Thank you from Jean and from Jessica and from me. We really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for joining us. And next time we'll be together on Tuesdays with Tim, where we're going to be discussing Thrive and what all happened there. So I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.